Hi everyone, um, my name is Juan Carlos and here we are again in another edition of the Americas webinar series. This time we are having fundraising strategies with Arwa Hani, the financial assistant for EMR, and she's from IFS Egypt, and our beautiful Eva Pisolato, the financial assistant for the Americas. So girls, I give you the floor. I hope you guys, the attendees, enjoy this webinar.
Thank you.
Thank you, Juan Carlos. So welcome to everyone. Thank you, Arwa, for being here and to support this webinar, and to all of the members of the EMR that are joining us today, and to my beautiful region, the Americas. Thank you for being here. So we're just going to wait 2 minutes in order to get some people to get to the link, and we'll be starting really soon.
Yes.
Okay, I think we can start now. So welcome again to everyone. Thank you, Ara, for being here. So let's start. Let's start on fundraising strategies. Why? Okay. So what is fundraising? Fundraising is a process. So it is the process where you solicit some financial support in an essential way for non-profit organizations like NMOs to bring in revenue for the organization mission. Here, some fundraising is about so much more than just asking for money. It also consists of ways for organizations to build relationships, bring in foundation, support, and attract new donors. In a summary, fundraising is the way an organization gets money to grow up. Okay?
Exactly. So let us start with why do we fundraise and why do you guys start doing these activities in your local committees or your national member organization. To start with, fundraising is just more than you raising money, as Ava just mentioned. We use it as a way to communicate with the externals outside, to reach out to more people, to let them know about us, and to garner some support for our activities. So we use this to promote our message, the goals of our organization, our main mission, and so on. And aside that, it's, without the funds that you actually need to have, your organization won't be able to host the activities that you want to host. You won't be able to start doing the projects, the campaigns, all of the work that you do in your local committee, even in the national member organization, cannot be done without having adequate funds for that. And to end this all, fundraising is highly important because it serves as a source of income that can help you stay sustainable for the future. It helps your cause and helps your organization to keep continuing and keep developing later on for the future generations and so on. So this is basically why we start fundraising. So could you, Eva, please move on to the next slide? Thank you. So in other words, we usually fundraise or start raising funds to finance for our projects. We start to finance because we need to find adequate funds and develop our own costs. We raise funds because we want to have a network with external people. We want to promote ourselves, and it's a good experience to build relationship with other potential partners, potential sponsors who would be willing to support you later on. So I'll leave in the for next year. So we are here going to the, yes, go ahead.
So sorry. Okay, so how do you choose your fundraising strategy? First, you have to look to all of the results of your previous fundraising event. How did your NMO work in the past to have resources working in the day-to-day? So with this, you have to analyze response rates and examine the return of your investment. It was profitable or it wasn't. So what tools did your NMO took in the past that you can retake and apply in the present in order to get your investment to grow? Then you have to compare the current results to the last several years. Like, was it worth it to do this activity, or wasn't worth it? This is a very important part of it, and to explore trends and their implications in the society.
Yeah.
Did it really have the reach it was supposed to have, or didn't? It's very important as well that you work in a policy framework. If you have doubts about, is it ethical to do this or isn't it ethical to do another thing, you can consult. There is an ethical fundraising framework from IFMSA that you can consult. It is more orientated to it is for IFMSA to work in their own fundraising, but you can use it as a guideline in case you need to clarify your situation.
Perfect. So moving on, so why haven't your fundraising efforts worked? So I bet in our fundraising journey, whenever, whichever it started, you'd ask yourself this question is why, what am I doing right now isn't working? What am I doing wrong? And here we're going to discuss the common mistakes, or let's say, let's learn from our failures to just know what is happening and how can we move forward from there. So if we could move on to the next slide. Perfect. So learning from your previous failures. The first thing that you need to know that usually happens when you are starting raising funds is communication. So poor communication whoever person you're responding to can have a drastic measures or drastic consequences on the fundraising activity that you're doing. Another thing is knowledge or lack of it. Not having sufficient knowledge about the activities that you're doing, the person that you're approaching can have huge outcomes on the way or the communication between you guys. So like it's a two-way street. If you don't have enough knowledge, this could impact your communication. And if you're not communicating well, you won't be able to raise the funds that you want to raise. And lastly, after communication and knowledge, we have, could you press again? It's gonna appear, yeah. We have planning. Not having or failure to plan is planning to fail, as they say. So not having an adequate plan where you know the amount of money that you need, you have all the resources or the tools that you need to start raising funds ready could efficiently lead to you actually failing in the process or the activity that you want to raise money from. So now let's discuss the most common part in each aspect, starting with poor communications. So when you are approaching an external for funds, whoever might that be, a partner, sponsor, or just asking for donation, having a lack of sincerity and belief in the cause or in the impact of the activity that you're doing results in poor communication. If you don't believe in the activities if you're doing, if you don't seem passionate enough in front of the person in front of you, this could be translated as a way of you communicating poorly with the person in front of you, and you won't be able to rely or let him understand why investing in such project or activity or event is very important and has a high impact in the end goal. Another thing that we do when we are communicating with people is not or failure of establishing a common ground. So you need to know that the person in front of you has similar interests and you have interests. So you need to make sure that these two interests align and that you guys are on the same page. He completely understands the wave that you're doing, the goal behind this activity, for example, the objectives, the mission of the whole organization, and you as well understand why this person should be investing in you, why this person should be giving you money. And by knowing all of these, you can set like a common ground between you in order to allow more negotiations to happen in the future and for you to get that money that you want. Another thing, of course, is could you please go back to the last slide? Yes, perfect. So another thing that we have is not being presentable or charismatic, not having little or communication skills. Because here communications is key. A part or a huge part of fundraising, as we're going to mention, and relies heavily on you pitching your idea. So if you're not presentable enough, if you do not have the negotiation skills or the communication skills needed for you to actively relay the information that you have, to actively talk or have a conversation with that person and try to convince him to give you that money, because what we are basically doing is trying to convince people to believe in our cause and just give us the money that we need. So I do not have these communication skills that would be proven difficult for me to just try to gain the money that I want. So on to the next thing that we have is the part where we are talking about lack of knowledge. So when I'm addressing knowledge here, I'm addressing the two parts here. I'm addressing knowledge about me and the organization itself, and I'm addressing knowledge about the prospect individual, whoever that might be, the future organization that I'm approaching for fund, the sponsor, the partner, the donor, whoever that might be. So if I don't have a knowledge or a specific amount of knowledge about these two, then I won't be able to conduct my fundraising efficiently. So sometimes we get so excited and we're like, I can handle this project, I know a lot about it, and then we are asked questions during the meeting with a potential sponsor, for example, and we don't have the answers for these questions. So if we do not have the answers to the questions about our organization or the impact that this project is gonna make on the community, or the commonest goal of this activity, then we won't be able to rely or just ask this person for money, because he won't believe in what we are saying if we don't know exactly what we are doing. So this is the first step in knowledge. Another thing that you need to be allowed, you need to know more about the bylaws and internal process of both parties. In other terms, when you are approaching any fundraising activity, some fundraising activities are guided by contractual papers, and we have a contract with this person, and there are some setting bylaws between the person or organization you're approaching, and you have yourself your own bylaws. For example, here in IFMSA, as Ava just mentioned, we have our own ethical framework which guides who we're supposed to approach for fundraising and what activities should we be doing in these matter. So just having lack of awareness about these two things actually make it more difficult when you are trying to raise funds for your NMO or local community. So that's for knowledge, you guys. And then the last thing we have is planning. Not planning adequately or, okay. I hope it takes fast. Okay. So not setting up a plan, just going with the flow and just like working haphazardly does not always work. And we have known that provingly, even in any activity that we're doing aside from fundraising, not having a proper plan is like a recipe for disaster. So here in fundraising, when you are planning, you need to have realistic goals. You do not expect, for example, you as a local community to raise for per year $20,000. That's not a realistic goal too much according to the general budget that you have. So you need to know your capabilities well. You need to study the things that you are able to achieve, and the things that is quite difficult needs a little more development, a little bit working on throughout the next years, and just set realistic goals that you can achieve and you can reach through the activities that you're doing. Another thing that you do is wastefulness, in which you are spending so much money and that you don't count the money that you have, especially the money that you gain from other sponsors or from other organizations as a part of your fundraising endeavors. You don't count the money that you have wisely. You don't know where you are spending it. So this creates difficulty when you are trying to reach this person, for example, later on to ask him for more money, and just like, where did you spend that money? This is the main question that you will be asked. So lack of planning on how you are going to spend the money that you gain, and just setting unrealistic goals like helps or affects the fundraising activities that you are doing. So that's it for our failures. And these are mostly the common things that we encounter through our fundraising activities that we do. We're now going to start with the basics with fundraising, which is the roadmap. And usually any fundraising activity consists of three things, starting with you have to know your target, you have to prepare well and set up a plan, and then you start pitching, which is the moment where you start reaching out and communicating with whoever external that you want to reach to raise funds from. So starting with targeting, you start here setting up a target. This target could be like the amount of money that you need, the person that you are going to approach, or the organizations that you are going to approach, and so on. Once you know the amount of money that you need and the person that you are going to reach out to, you start here setting up a plan and preparing your, like, how do we say, your tactic or strategy to tackle this task. So for each target or type of activity, there is different kinds of preparations. We're going to go over that later on and give you some tips for each fundraising activity, because it differs if you're doing a fundraising event or if you are decided to apply on a grant, or you decided just to approach a sponsor whatsoever. Each one has this specific like key or like specific approach that could be used to help you prepare well for this kind of meeting or like activity to do. And then you start pitching, as I said, where you know the person that you have, you know the approach that you're going to use, you have all the necessary tools ready, whether they were documents about your organization, the budget that you have prepared later on, any reports to back up or cover letter to back up who you are and the activities that you have been doing. Then it's time to start reaching out through an email or reaching out in person if you are going to meet through a meeting, or maybe meeting through an event or a common event that you've met at, and start just convincing this person to start giving you the money that you need. So this is basically the roadmap for each fundraising activity. And then we're going to start with the sources or the common sources of funds. We have exactly 5 sources. So Eva, could you move on to the next slide? Thank you. So We have here 5 sources of funding or fundraising activities that you could use locally, nationally, basically use anywhere to start raising funds. So we have sponsorship, which is wide known. We have grants, you have donations, and you have fundraising events that you can host. You have your own merchandise that you could start selling to gain money off. So each type of these or each source of funding here has its own ins and outs, and like we're going to discuss this in more details. So starting with sponsorship. Um, Let us define the act of sponsorship. So, sponsorship is an exchange of money or resources for a certain service. So, you are going to be gaining the money because you asked this person for money, obviously, and this person is going to give you a service. You are going to give this person a service. So, this service that you are going to be given has to have a promotional or commercial benefit to the person. So, let's have an example. So you are approaching a certain company for money for a certain event. So this company is going to be your sponsor, and they're going to give you the money in exchange that you have their name, you have their logo, you have anything that helps them in their marketing, any communication related to the event displayed there. So you are offering them marketing opportunities through your platforms or through the event that you're hosting in exchange for the money that they are giving. So in sponsorship, it's a two-way street. They are giving you something and you are giving them something as well. So to start knowing or working on your uh, sponsorship activities, whether you are pushing a sponsors or not, there's usually some ins and outs and tips to help you out. Could you move on to the next one? And okay, perfect. So the tips and tricks when you are doing a sponsorship activity is to start looking within. And that is by knowing the assets that you have or the valuables that you have that you could offer the certain sponsor for exchange for the money that he's giving. These valuables could be, or basically are the things that they can use to start marketing for their own organization or marketing for their brand, what it may be, whatever it is. So, for example, this asset could be a huge social media access platform, a huge member base. For example, as RFMSA, we have a huge member base for medical students. So we are uh, how do we say it? We're like a golden opportunity for anyone interested in developing medical students or having their brand related or their audience related to medical students whatsoever. And aside from that, having social media platforms and having a huge member base, maybe you have a certain activity or you host like this yearly event that maybe the sponsor would be interested in sponsoring. Maybe you have this certain project that aligns with the sponsor let's say work or mission or goal or whatsoever. So just start focusing on how you could use or utilize the things that you have in order to just set up some benefits and some marketing opportunities to attract this potential sponsor later on where you are approaching them. And another thing that you should be thinking of is having a sponsorship target, which is who are you going to target? Who are the people that you are going to be going out there and asking them, yes, I need money for exchange. I'm going to offer you like a post on my Facebook page, for example. So who are these people? So we use here the bull's eye methods, where you have at the center of the bull's eye, where the bull's eye itself is your main supporters. Your supporters here are people that you have worked with previously. There are people that you trust. There are people that they know your work, and there's like this deep previous connection that you had with them. These supporters could be any external partner that you have approached before, sponsors that you have used before, like people that you know personally or you have contact with before. These are the supporters that support your work, that are active with the things that you are doing, and just they are the easier one to approach if you want to have or if you want to have a sponsorship with them. The next thing that we have is the inner circle, which is colored in blue, and this is the contacts. And this is basically the contacts that you want to reach. They are not supporters, they do not have much information about you, but they might be willing to reach out to you. They might be willing actually to work out with you if you have set up a meeting with them, of course, or if you have perfected the pitch that you are going to use to just lure them in and have them in your bullseye. So the trick here is that we have contact. We want to convert them to supporters through our sponsorship, and supporters will remain supporters no matter what. And then you have the outer circle, which is the suspects, which person that might be interested in your work, but you still don't know. So you just want to stay away, or when you are looking for sponsorship, from suspects as much as possible, and just start focusing on people that have the same vision as you, have the same have the same vision as you, have the same goals as you, might be interested in the activities that you're doing. These are the person that you want close to the bull's eye as much as possible. So once you have your sponsorship target ready, it's time to start researching. And this is where, when we mentioned that it's very important to have the knowledge about who are you going to approach and knowledge about your activity, because basically knowledge is power. And in prospect research, we start to know how much these contacts are how much these supporters would be willing to give us money, how much money would be willing to give, their affinity and their warmth toward our organization, would be willing to support our cause, would they be willing to support the project that we are doing, maybe the carnival event that we are doing, whatsoever. So this is all we achieve through prospect research. We start gathering information about these people that we are approaching, the money that they have, just knowing the activities that they are doing, maybe even like go much more deeper and know the previous partnership that they have with other organizations, stuff like that. You need to know everything just to keep, like, to perfect your pitch and know which tactic that you are going to use to just convince this person, yes, I'm fully updated about your work. I know that you have supported this person. I know that you like this kind of work. I'm here to give you my kind of work, hoping that you would support this as well, and whatsoever. This is all, every information that you might find, whether you find it online, whether you start asking people around, whatsoever way or method you are using, is going to help perfect your pitch. So once you have all of this ready, it's time to start drafting this pitch. It's time to start preparing yourself for the moment where you are going to approach the sponsor and just ask him for the money that you need for this certain event and this certain project. And here, each type of sponsor or each type of individual that you are approaching for this activity has its own type of personality. So for each person that we are approaching, you need to have your own strategy, and you need to think or design like, you need to design a pitch that fits this person mindset, just to make sure that you are hooking this person in and you're just hitting all the right buttons with them. So Eva, we move on to the next slide. Perfect. So right now, so in order, when we are designing our pitch and perfecting it, we need to choose the right pitch. And there is a pitch for every type of personality of sponsors that you are going to encounter. So we have the thinker personality. We have the personality that we call them the feelers. They go well with their emotions. They let's say, oh, I can find the word. Okay, they go well with their emotions, and they feel more, and they connect more with stories. They connect more with the mission and the impact of what they are doing, and they're like this philanthropic approach where you are just telling them how much your work is very good to the community and how much your work is going to impact the members or members itself, is going to impact other people outside and whatsoever. And then you have the deferrers, which are people who only follow when others lead. So they're basically, these people follow when there are other people's leading. So if you have garnered more supporters, the deferrers will likely more be on your side. But if you have little support from outside partners or from people who are known to be competitors to them, they wouldn't follow at all. So let's just dissect each personality at a whole. And when you understand each type of personality or each type of sponsor that you're approaching, you will know the right way to deliver or like design a pitch that fits the person that you are approaching, and just like perfect it so you know that you have like the wow element when you're approaching this person and asking for the money that you need. So starting with thinkers. So thinkers here, it comes from the word itself. There are people who care so much about numbers, they care about figures, statistics. They just want to know basically how the activity that you're doing is going to be helping them. So you want to be giving them as much as information as you can on how you can offer them help, how they can leverage their market, for example, how can you increase their audience, how your work can come of benefit for them, how their work can help the community whatsoever. So these are thinker. This is the part where you start convincing them with statistics, numbers, and figures. You just want to prove to them that you are a very well-known organization, that you have a huge history of working on activities like that, a huge history of success, and the figures prove that, and the pictures I've sent you prove that, and the numbers of members prove that whatsoever. You just need to back up everything with evidence just for them to be convinced of what you're doing. And then you have the feelers. As I said, they are the people who are moved and their actions are directed by their emotions. So the emotions that they have here is something that you could be using to just like convincing them that they should be investing in the thing that you are doing, especially when you are doing activities that touch a part of humanity, that impact a lot of people in the communities. So if you're doing activities like that, approaching a feeler would highly be recommended, because these are the person who would be highly interested in the work that you do, would be highly interested in supporting something like that, because it makes them feel good and they want to actually help you out in whatever you are doing. And then you have the deferrers, as I said, which the people who are following other people. So it's best when you're approaching this person, just telling them that you are supported, for example, by the IFMSA, which is an international organization that works directly with the WHO. So just by stating big names or like key stakeholders in a certain sector, you just make sure you are making sure that this person is interested in what they are saying, making sure that this person knows that you have a lot of supporters who are huge in the world outside that are helping you out. And this might be like an initiative or a motive for them to start, yeah, you guys have a lot of supporters and I trust these people that are supporting you, so why not jump on board and help you, and so on. So these are the type of personalities that you would be encountering when you are doing a sponsorship. And for each one, as I explained, they have their different approach that you could use to design a perfect pitch to start going out there and just convincing this person that give me the money that I need for blah blah blah. So I think that's it for sponsorship. We're going to be moving on to the next activity, which are grants. So what are grants basically? Grants are non-refundable funds usually provided by a nonprofit, a government, or a foundation whatsoever to finance individuals and projects. So grants can be given to a certain individual, they can be given to a project that you're doing or a program that you are working on. So in grants, we actually have two types of grants. We have restricted grants and we have unrestricted grants. So if you just click too much on the slides, they're gonna appear. Yeah, so we have the restricted grants and we have the unrestricted grants. So what are the restricted grants? Basically, the restricted grants are grants that you are applying for. You have to write in an application. And once you write in the application, you won this grant whatsoever, or you were awarded this grant. This grant comes with a set of rules where they restrict you for the time that you are using the money. They restrict the activity where you are using the money. And for example, if they give you money for an activity about gender-based violence, this activity is gonna be this money needs to be used in this type of activity. You can use this money, for example, a SCOF project or a SPORA project or something else like that. It has to be about gender-based violence because this is the application that you have written and this is the grant that you were applying for. So it restricts the way that you are using the money. You have also a time limit when you are using this money, in which it's set in once you receive the amount of money, and usually you have to report on your money usages to this certain organization or foundation. So if you're like a monthly report or a yearly report where you're stating where did you spend this money and how did this impact your project and the results of the project whatsoever. So there's a regular monitoring between you when you're applying for a restricted grant. And then you have the unrestricted grant, which is not much found in the in the world outside, but they are like very, very good opportunities where they offer money in general to something very specific, and not something specific as restricted grant, but ways in which you can apply whichever project that you want, in which they have the full liberty in using the money that you have in whatever activity, as long as it fits the guidelines that is put on by the unrestricted grants. There isn't much work on monitoring. There isn't much work on reporting. They're not as strict as the restricted grants. So these are basically the type of two grants. Right now, we're going to discuss the grant sequence or the grant application method. How long does it take? How should you start working on the writing process whatsoever? So starting with the first one, in your grant or when you're applying for a grant, the first thing you need to do is to identify the needs and focus on your organization. So just you need to know what are your needs right now, what this project or this certain activity needs, where are you going to be using this funds, and just focus on yourself, on your development plan. Because let's face it, you need this money because you want to do something and you want to develop something later on. So you need to be have the appropriate knowledge and just set up this plan perfectly, because you are going to be convincing experts and you're going to be convincing like a set of panel team why they should be giving you this money. So knowing very well why do you need this money and where it's going to be used is very, very vital before starting the writing process. Once you have this all settled up, it's time to start searching for grants that meet that needs. So for example, I need a grant for, let's say, GBV as well, gender-based violence activity that I'm doing. So I'm going to start looking for grants that support women empowerment. I'm going to start looking for grants that work on gender violence. I'm going to start looking for grants that work on gender inequality whatsoever. So just focus on titles or big names that relates to the subject that you're doing, and start searching through online, maybe through a specialized database. Each country or some government in the country have their own website that contains grants data in it. Maybe start searching there. Just search for whatever you can find, or whatever source you can find for the needs or for the grant that satisfy the needs and focus point that you have set in the previous one. And after you do that, it's time to start developing a general budget, and it's time to start developing your proposal. So usually your proposal, it consists of a cover letter, it has an executive summary and a plan of action with clear objectives and goals for the activities that you're doing, and then a budget, which is an estimate for the amount of money that you need to develop this activity whatsoever. Once you have this checked and ready, you can either, this step depends on which type of foundation you're approaching. So if you are approaching a foundation that usually receives a small or like a pre-application, just to like narrow down the number of applications they receive, and if they found you fit, you're going to reapply again for a formal application. Or if it's another grant offering foundation or organization, they can just, you just deliver the general proposal to them, and they will take this and prepare a specific I will take this just some few. Okay. Okay, I think back. So hopefully. Okay. So hopefully I'm back. Yay, okay. So we were going over the grant application process. Yes, okay. So I think I stopped in the part where we will developing a general budget and a general proposal. After that, it depends on the type of the organization you're approaching. Maybe this general budget would be as a like a provisional application, and once they see that you are fit and you are align with their target audience that they want to give the money to, then you are proceeding to the next level or the next phase. And maybe this is just a general proposal, and then you just submit the general proposal, work on few things to make it more specific according to the needs that they have, and just wait for the the acceptance letter or other questions to be asked for you. So whatever process that you be, you just submit the proposal, and just after you submit the proposal, you have to make sure that you are submitting it before the deadline, because if you submit it after the deadline, then
Okay, I think Ara is having some technical trouble, so I'll be taking over. So once you carry out your project, and you have all all of the files and all the negotiations made, you can file the report with the funding agencies, and this way they know you are grateful for their help, and in this way you can access for more grants in the future. Okay, so here are some tips and tricks when applying to grants. So you should begin the process as early as possible. As if you start this with a lot of time before, you can do a better work, and you can do some quality writing, and in this way it's more approachable. This grant is more approachable for you. Follow the instructions set. This is a very important point, because if you don't follow the instructions, you might get refused the grant. So it's very important in order to take over the grant. Highlight your strengths and not your needs. This is a great part, because you take all the good in your organization, the good in your activity, and you don't show the need. You only show the strength. So increase your skills by writing successful grants. Are you back?
yes, I am.
Okay, I'll let you.
I'm really sorry, guys. There was an internet glitch. So I just need to. I'm logging in from several stuff, so just give me a moment, and I'm gonna leave the meeting. Okay. So going on, I think Eva just explained the grant application process. So we were going to discuss the tips. So the first thing that you need to be doing, or that you need to start, is the fact that you need to start beginning the writing process as much as early as possible, because as I said, each grant has a specific deadline and has a specific criteria. So you need to make sure that once you fit the criteria, you start working on your grant process. You start working on the proposal that you are trying to preparing and submit it before the deadline. Otherwise, it won't be received, and it's just gonna be overlooked whatsoever. And then after that, you need to follow the instructions set. You need to make sure that you read the guidelines very, very well, that you meet the criteria, and you have any question whatsoever, don't hesitate, just email the person responsible, email the organization, just to save you a lot of money and save you a lot of effort later on, and save you a lot of time when you're approaching this person. It's gonna help your proposal make it more target oriented, make it more specific when you are delivering it to the applying foundation whatsoever, or the offering foundation. And then you need and once you make sure that you are following these instructions, you are safe, and then that means that your grant is likely or more likely to be read because you've set or the checklist that they have listed before. And in your grant, when you are writing your proposal, it is very, very important to highlight your strength, to just showcase how you are a strong organization that has set goals and has previously achieved these goals, to just state history about your work and how impact it has delivered to the community, how much impact it has impacted the medical students all around. Just highlight how it is important and how by them offering you this money, they're basically offering money to an organization that will know how to use this money, will use it to shift their weaknesses into more strength, will use it as an opportunity to develop more and give back more, not just showcasing your needs or why do you actually need this money. This is the trick, that when you are asking them for money, you don't want to be sounding as needy, you don't want to showing them that you have a certain weakness whatsoever, because it's not actually about the money, it's about what you are going to be doing with this money. So don't focus more on your action need, that you actually need that financial support, because yes, we know that you need it because you're applying for it, of course, but just highlight how much this money would help the impact, how much this money would help the goals and the mission that you are working to achieve. And then finally, just increase your skills by reading any successful grants that you find, just to know how these grants, why these grants were accepted. Did they have like an element of surprise or like a special element that they use that you could be using? Did this type of foundation that accepted this grant like this type of writing or like this type of information or this type of proposal whatsoever? This is all to back you up when you are writing grants later on. So I'll leave the floor to Ava. Oh, before that, you have the fundraising database. You can find it in the RFMSA website. So this is basically a database to all regions whatsoever. You'd find activities, or you find grants for the EMR, you find grants for the Americas. There are grants here specific. You have the certain deadlines written here and some small description about it. So feel free to check it out after we finish the webinar and see if there's a grant that could align with your interest, and yeah, you could definitely apply for it later on. So now I can leave the mic safely to Eva. Go ahead.
Thank you, Ara. So, okay, moving on to donations. So when you are applying for a donation, these are, where does the money for a donation come from? It comes from two main places. The first one is alumni engagement. Some former members of your organizations might be able to contribute to your organization, as they know the need to grow. They already know the objectives and the work you are doing. So this is a very, the alumni can be very, very good donors. And also we have peer-to-peer and crowdfunding campaigns where you can ask for people to give you money, maybe get partnership with establishments or coffee shops to put a jar on, or to ask people directly to donate. Here you can apply also internet donations through a website, and having a lot of participation of outside people. The last one is merchandise. We all know, we all do merchandise, but let's not stay only with t-shirts or hoodies. Let's expand and take more things. The merchandise are goods sold for publicity, and they can be used to raise funds. So in this way, you can take a flash drive, an umbrella, a cup, a water bottle. There are many things that you can use as publicity. You can also produce some pins with the name of your organization. You can sell it between your members, but let's not get exclusively with your members. You can use it as another attractive way. Maybe you can put the name of your organization in a smaller way and replying some attaching things to the general people. And this way you explain what are you expecting from selling these items, and people might contribute to it. You have keychains, pens, there's a lot of things, backpacks that you can use, and they can be really good for your organization. Here is very important to do a balance. How many will it cost to you to produce these items, and how many money you will be able to raise? It has to be in a way that you are able to afford the project and to have some gains, like increase the price on a 20 or 30% to the public, and in this way you can have a profit. So what can you do? When you want to setting your merch line, you can identify your audience or your customers. As I said, you can have your members of your organizations. You can expand to other medical students that doesn't pertain to your organization, or you can go even more outside of the medicine line, and you can go to the general population. You need to decide on the type of product. I put it on all of the examples. You can determine your product pricing, as I said, make a balance with the primary price of your merchandise and the price you will be selling it. Here you have to figure out your logistics. You need to find a good supplier. Go for the best price benefit supply. Order the management, shipments, and deliveries. How are you going to deliver these products? If you are a big NMO, you might not have an easy access to the people that are ordering. So maybe you can get some products to local committees, and in this way they can sell them and give you the money that you made. This is a good way to approach in a local way. Or maybe you can take it as a treasure into the into your national assemblies, or maybe doing an online selling and shipping through the mailing companies that are available worldwide. Do a market plan. Who do you want to reach? When do you want it to do it? And so on. And you have to find the ways to manage the risk and leverage the program. You have to be conscious that it might work or it might not work. So be always conscious of this. Moving on to the fundraising events. Fundraising events are organizing events with the primary focus of raising money for a cause. This, I like to think about the fundraising events as the fun part of fundraising, because it involves all of your members. It involves team building. You do partnership with other people, you work side by side, and you all have the same purpose. So this is like the fun part of fundraising, leaving behind all of the bureaucracy that can take to apply for grants or donation or bigger things. These events can be done in a local or in a national way. So for the fundraising events, you need to decide the type of event you want to do. So choose a method that fits your audience, create a budget, and your fundraising goals. a very important part is to create the budget. How many money will I have to invest in this event in order to get them to get enough people and to get to make a profit. Have a plan and set a complete budget, set up an organizing committee. This is also important because the people involved in this activity will be the ones that will be keeping the people in the activity, like making the publicity. Maybe someone will be selling tickets and so on. Set up the ticket price and the selling structure, and set up a marketing plan as well. When you are done with the activity, it's very important to thank your guest and report. What do I mean with reporting? You need to know how many money did you raise. You can do an external report for the people that supported you, and an internal report in order for you to know how many money you invested at the end, and if it was really profitable for your organization. So let's get fundraising. This is a series of ideas that you can implement in your local committees or your national organization. This is like the fun part. I like it a lot. So this can be implemented in small NMOs or bigger NMOs in a bigger way. One idea, the first idea, is that a raffle. When you do a raffle, you can buy an interesting item for members or for the people. For example, I used to buy some concert tickets. When you buy a concert tickets and you for appealing artist for people, you do a raffle. You set up a price for every ticket, and then you sell every number, and then you go through I don't know, they are many internet pages where you can put on the numbers and make a sort, and you have a winner. So the way you should do it is making the price of the tickets of the concert tickets go lower than you raise. So this way is profitable. Another thing is that you can do healthy snack selling. You can go on your school. If your school doesn't allow you to do this kind of activities, you can go outside. You can go through your community, sell them nuts, bars, smoothies, croissants, yogurt, cookies, fruit salad, other salads, or there are a lot of things you can do, and you can promote healthy lifestyles as well, and you are raising money for your organization. You can do an international food festival. We are an international federation, so we are multicultural. We know a lot of people around the world. So let's take this part of the IFMSA. Let's take the cultural part. Let's talk to people from other countries to do a good festival for food. Sell it on some people. Maybe you can sell tickets. You can do an event with the food and sell the tickets to the community, or maybe your friends or family, and so on. Some other ideas that I can give you is to tutoring to other students. Medical students are known as very intelligent people, very able to know a lot of things, to teach. We are multitasking people. So why not go for students of a lower level, in not a lower level, in like in lower grade in your school, in your faculty, and offer them to tutor them in the subjects that they have struggled to learn, and you are a strong person in this thing. So maybe not putting on a price on your tutoring skills, but giving them the option to donate what they can do. In this way, you can help your organization, and you help other students to be more academically good. Also, you can host a photo shoot if you have a member that has a good camera and has a good eye and enjoys taking photos. Why not make a photo shoot campaign to tell people that you are going to do a healthy photo shoot to show your city? I am sure we all live in beautiful cities and we all have something to show off our main communities. So this could be a good idea, and you can donate. With this you can do an exposure of your photos afterwards, maybe an art. Maybe expose them as art, and get people to donate through this. Recycle and collect. This is a very good one because you are helping the environment and you are helping your organization. In some countries, at least I know Americas does it. In Mexico, you can collect bottles or cans or any material that can be recycled and take them to a material recovery facility. And these industries actually buy they literally buy trash from you, and they sell them afterwards to a recycling plant. So this is a very good way to help the environment and help your organization. You can organize an obstacle course event. This way, you promote healthy lifestyles, you get some fun with people, and you raise money. You sell the tickets, you put on the scenario for the course, you put on some obstacles, you invite your friends, you invite people from your community, and this could be a really, really fun one. You can do a race event. Some campuses of universities have spaces to do races. If your university doesn't have one, you can go to a park. You can do it in a national event, for example. This is a good way to gather your members and put them to make some sport and have a healthier lifestyle. You offer a prize, and you ask for permission in your government, and you can do this event. Of course, you have to be very careful because you don't want anyone to get hurt during the process. So always be conscious of this. Maybe car wash. Might not be the greatest of the ideas, but when it comes to money and raising it, every idea is possible and every idea is a good one. When I was proposing this to Arwa, she was telling me like, okay, maybe it can be a good idea, but maybe not. But I don't know, maybe do go and do a car wash fair with your neighbors or with people from your school and get funded by this. This is a good idea as well. Book rental or sale. Go with doctors of your faculty and try to get some donations of books. Where former members can contribute for this, and you can rent them for students in the first grades of the career, or you can sell them in a really low price. This is very important. When you rent a book, you have to do a proper follow-up in order for you to not to lose it. Because if you lose the book, it won't be like really well for your organization. But this is one of the activities that you can do as well. Art contest, as I was telling you with the photographs, you can promote art between your members. When I first started my path right FMSA, this was something we used to do in my local committee. We used to promote poems for a specific day, or put members to draw something medically related to a date. So this had a really good response. It was a really good fundraise activity. And I like this one because it takes you apart from the stress of being daily in a medical school and all of the pressure that it takes when we're studying such a career. So this is a really beautiful one. You can do music concert as well if you have members that are good with instruments or they are good singers, and so on. So this is a very, very beautiful idea. And as I was telling you, you can do partnerships with coffee shops and restaurant partnership. Here you can tell them like, okay, if one of my member comes up, can he get some discount on their consumption, or maybe just ask them to put a jar for donations. It's important to know that there's no donation that is not important. Maybe if you can not raise a lot of money in the moment or with one activity, if you put them all together, you can do a very big raise. And you cannot make less of what people can give to your organization. So let's get out of the box and think outside the medical activities. Let's think outside the exchanges, and go fund your organization in your community. This is you will find out that this is a very beautiful experience that approaches, yes, to your community, to your members, and you make a really good partnership with everyone. So this will be all, but we want to open a space for discussion or questions. You can put it on the chat, on the comment section, and we'll be reading them.
Yeah.
I think we had some.
I can check them. Just give me a moment. So,
Aura, do you need me to read you the question?
No. So it's here. I was looking at my phone. So
Okay.
it says, according to the sponsorship strategy, is this sustainable in a long, like 3 year or more? So she's from Sydney, from Peru. So hi, very nice to meet you, whoever sent the question. So basically, for the sponsorship strategy, it's up to you basically to set a strategy for like 3 years or like 1 year whatsoever. But for me, I prefer to have the strategy work for 1 year. That's makes me work on being more specific to what I'm trying to achieve this year, and just helps more when you are setting a financial target, because it's very difficult to set a financial value or the amount of money that you need to raise for maybe 3 years or 4 years from now, with how the economy changes from in a blink of an eye, with how like money is not something that is quite stable and it differs from each country to another. So this could something you could use to sustain your fundraising, not sponsorship strategy whatsoever, your general fundraising work for the year that you are working on, just to ensure that there is another source of income that you are working on to sustain you for the future. So
Okay. We're waiting for more questions. Let's wait like a couple of minutes. Okay. Okay, we don't have questions yet, but greetings from people from Brazil, Peru, and Jordan. Thank you for joining.
hey.
So I think we have a question. So let me.
Okay. So we have Samir here asking the difference between partnership and sponsorships. And we do have another question from Abdullah. So maybe you can tackle the first one. Do you want to go, Ava?
Can you hear me?
Right now I can, yeah.
Okay. So the difference between partnership and sponsorship. So when you have a partner, you can rely on them for a timeline. You can count on them for a certain amount of time. You sign with this partner, and this organization contribute to yours. And a sponsorship can be just a one-time aid.
A one-time person, yeah.
So a one-time.
So yeah, just as Eva mentioned, like for partnership, it's usually the person or the organization involved. It could contribute more than money. They could give you workforce. They could give you resources. Other than that, they can actually interfere in the work that you are doing. Maybe just switch up the phases in the project, add one more objective, add one more goal. So it's a mutual relationship between you both, where you both have the leading roles and you're just leading the project. When it comes to sponsorship, it's quite the opposite, because you're the one in control. You're just giving this person access to your marketing benefits or your marketing networks or platforms that you offer in exchange of the money. The sponsor has no other liberty to use or change the project, has no liberty to interfere in how is the event going whatsoever, and so on. Aside from a partnership, in some partnership they do have this ability. It depends on the type of partnership that you are approaching. So this is basically the difference between a partnership and a sponsorship. And also, as Ava said, a partnership can go from 1 year to 3 years to 5 years. Usually a sponsor is one time and it's dedicated for a certain event or a certain small scale project. So that's it. So we have two other questions. I'm liking this. So Abdullah is saying, what's the best possible move regarding partner sponsors to make after COVID-19? And there's also another question, how can we make the best of the current situation? I think both are related to.
These are related questions. So when we were discussing this, we were thinking about, how can we do it right now with the COVID situation? We know the world is in crisis and it's difficult for all of us. We cannot go into the streets and do our activities, but what can we do? You can start applying for a grant, for example. You can start writing the process and making sure it's a good one. Also, you can do the online donation. You can create a website. You can go through Facebook. You can approach some members through online tools like
you have
Zoom.
Crowdfunding campaigns.
Yeah. So you can approach people this way. Try to do it from your home. I know it's not like the easier way, but in this current time, it could work.
Especially that with COVID-19, you'd have a lot of organizations having so many resources, so many grants open, so many competitions that you guys could enroll on that could help give you an extra source of money, as well as benefit whatever activity that you're working on, or just benefit this current situation, COVID-19 itself. So I hope we just made it more simpler. And regarding partners and sponsorship in regards, I believe, although that you don't have the ability to work on something physical right now, you could still pursue someone for a sponsor for a campaign that you're doing through your platform, or like you pursue a partner whatsoever, just make sure that you have enough publicity to back up your claim, to back up your pitch when you're approaching that person, just to convince him that yeah, you can reach this target audience or this amount of people through your networks, and this could be an incentive for them to jump along. So you can still also approach partner as sponsors for doing something online, and you can see us doing that in the IFMSA Facebook page. We can still approach with, there's still different collaborations with different partners that we have, and the work is still ongoing. So nothing exactly has been affected much, aside from the fact that everything just switched from being physical to being more online. So just making sure that you have the adequate online platform, the adequate reach would actually help you in reaching this kind of activities.
Great. Do we have any more questions?
That's right.
Okay, I think there is no more questions. So
Yes, I think so.
anyways, if you have any more questions, you can contact us. Here are our contact information, and you can contact either of us if you have any further questions. For the Americas, here's my email, and for the EMR, here is our email. So thank you very much for being here. Thank you, Arwa, for your contribution.
Thank you so much for having me in your webinar series.
I enjoyed a lot to work with you. I am sure we will be doing a lot more of things together. So thank you very much to all of you for joining.
Thank you all, guys.
Stay safe.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, Eva and Arwa, for your webinar. It was amazing. I think it was very important for our animals. I just wanted to thank you for the space and remind everybody that we are still going on with the America's webinar series. On Friday, we have humanitarian action in COVID-19 times that will be done by our Scorp Array and our Scorp team. So please don't forget to join in the America's Facebook group. Have a nice one, guys.
Thank you, everyone.